your homes in a different way as the relative that she really is. So we'll get started.
So I think most people have their water to a boil at this point. So we're gonna we have a cup of grits. And these are actually blue corn grits that Mateo helped us with. And I'm very excited to see how this turns out because I've never had blue corn grits before. And so we just put them in the pot. And I think each of you has a spoon or a whisk. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. The whole cup? Yeah, the whole cup. All at once. That little pot is making me nervous, but yeah, exactly. And the thing you have to do is that with grits, what I usually do is that I let it sit for like a minute, and then after that you have to constantly keep stirring, because then it clumps up. And so whoever wants to be the stirrer in your group. And we do this for about we do this for 25 minutes, and I'll let you know when like the consistency is right. And so, oh yeah, lower it to a simmer. So like 2 or 1, I think 2 or 1. Yeah, if it's boiling, then lower it to low. If you heard that, once it's boiling, lower it to low, and then keep stirring. So my dad, I grew up with my dad. He would eat grits a lot, and as I said, in Central California, grits aren't very common. And so he was my only reference for grits. And when I was younger, I thought they were kind of weird. I was like, it kind of looks like oatmeal, but it's not. I don't really know what it's made out of. Yeah. And not until later that I learned that it was actually made out of corn, or hominy. It's like one step below the nixtamalization, is that how you say in English, process. And I think it's actually pretty fascinating how grits became to these lands, because as everybody here knows, there was a transatlantic slave trade. My ancestors were brought here through the transatlantic slave trade. And cornmeal and corn was like one of the main things that enslaved people were rationed. But cornmeal and corn wasn't new to enslaved people. It was already introduced to Africa before then. Most people say by the Portuguese in the early 1500s, late 1490s. And from there was like a cautious accepting of corn. And it kind of slowly like replaced a lot of the main grains that are in Africa today. So I actually just came back from a film shoot in South Africa, and one of the things they ate was pap, which is like it reminded me of like a dry masa, or even like a dried grits. And then they also ate porridge, which was very, very similar for grits, which is a breakfast food, and grits also is a breakfast food. But so when enslaved people came, it wasn't new to them. And so a lot of these dishes that we see today, cornbread, hush puppies, grits, shrimp and grits, grits is very associated with the South, and that has to do with slavery, with the plantations, and enslaved people making food out of what they had. So I didn't actually start eating grits until I was older and less picky, because I was a very picky kid, and I thought they were weird. And when I had them actually savory, I was like, wow, these are really good. So we're just gonna keep stirring at the moment until they get kind of almost like thick.
What do you think?
Uh-huh.
I saw you putting the thing, so I wanted to make sure everything was splittering everything.
And as somebody's stirring, somebody else can start chopping their veggies. So you have a knife, you each have a knife and a cutting board. We're cutting zucchinis like this. So I do like almost like a half moon with the zucchinis. Yeah. The chives are just how you normally cut chives. Oh my gosh. Has this slowed down? I don't know.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
How do you season them?
I've been putting salt on them, but if you all want more salt, like half moons. Uh-huh. I don't think this is like gotten cool. Like,
You can like put it on the cold side.
yeah, right.
and then-
Just let it go.
That's right.
Anybody want salt? Yeah. Nora, can you pass around the salt? And then I also put a tiny, tiny bit of Old Bay. I don't know if it's open yet. And we have butter. Is it okay if I use that?
Yeah.
Thanks. Yes? All the vegetables. Uh-oh. I dropped it. The potatoes, I just do like little squares. The tomatoes, I do just like squares. Maybe start with one tomato because the pans are also a little small. Yeah. Yeah.
The squash quarters, round.
I do like this. Half moons.
Of course.
Thanks. Can you also pass around this and just tell everybody a tiny bit? I'll show you what to do with the vegetables after. That'll be after the grits are done. So right now we're just prepping the veggies, and I'll show you what to do with the veggies after the grits are done. This is gonna make up for the lack of nutritional yeast. Or the lack of cheese in general, I feel.
How are they turning out? I made some last night.
You did?
Yeah.
Do you like them thick or? I like them really thick. So I like my grits really thick, and so I stir them until they're even thicker than this still. And then once they get pretty thick, we're gonna put like a little slice of butter in each.
I'm gonna walk around and make sure they're okay.
Okay, thanks.
Everybody's good
I
over
cut
here?
them like really big slices.
Any questions?
We're doing all the vegetables.
Yes.
Can I mention
Yes.
interpreters need to be able to
Okay.
A tiny bit.
A little thicker. Yeah. Like probably
Because we're also
5 more
seasoning the
minutes.
veggies with Old Bay.
Well, I mean enough that's gonna feed. Oh, okay. No, I would maybe cut them in half.
Yeah, they're all washed.
and then
so
like in
don't worry
little,
about that.
like little bite-sized pieces.
So I make them like very, very big. Yeah. The chives, I just cut them like very small.
Everybody's good over here? Yeah. How's it coming along?
So the
Very
chives
good.
I just cut very small. The mushrooms I cut them, yeah, like pretty big slices. And then you keep stirring. You have to constantly keep stirring on low heat.
They asked me if we could speak louder.
Oh yes. Okay.
It's like, I don't know how loud we can speak. Much louder.
Yeah, also because everybody else is speaking too. That's okay.
I think I'm just gonna wait till they're done so that I can get their attention a little.
Okay.
I don't know. I think like 2 recipes at the same time is a little
Yeah.
hectic.
Well, should we? Do you want to wait until the veggies are done too, or just the grits? You go and then I do the veggies.
It's up to you. Do you need time to?
Well, they're prepping. They're cutting the veggies right now. Veggies don't take very long.
No. I think that when they take a break, when they get all their veggies cut, let's take
Then
a break
I
so I
think
can get the masa started.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
And then
And then after we could do just putting them in the pan.
we'll just bounce back.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So usually instant grits are way faster. But the trick with grits is that the longer you cook them, the thicker they are. So since I like mine really thick, I cook them for a while. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the trick with grits is that the longer you cook them, the thicker they are. And so I cook mine for a while because I like my grits really thick. But you kind of thin it out when we finally make the veggies because we're going to make a tiny little broth and put it in all together.
And guys, just something I want to share with you about the grits that you guys are making here. So they come from this blue corn, and this blue corn is grown out here too in Berino. Yeah. So this corn, I went through the process of putting it through cal, getting some nixtamal in it, drying it out, dehydrating it, and then using the hand crank molino to get that coarse texture. Because you can't. Go ahead.
Corn, is that like a hybrid or
No. This is
more like that?
this is original corn. So, I mean, it comes in all different colors from neon pink to neon green to red, blue, yellow, and those are the original colors. Now you just see white and yellow. But like
Anybody
I was saying,
ready for some
this is
butter?
alive and it's a relative, so there's different varieties,
Anybody
different
ready for
colors,
some
different
butter? So once
shapes,
they get a little
different.
thick, we're gonna put a little bit of butter.
It's very diverse.
Yeah.
So, and keep in mind, I mean, we've been
Off, though, 'cause-
cultivating this for 10,000 years now. So that's a long history. That's a lot of history. I can't even. I mean, that's pre-pyramid time. You know, that's the same time that
Oh,
wheat
they're the local
was
ones
making the
that Gail
agricultural
brought.
boom over there. But
Yeah.
you don't hear much
Yeah,
about
they're local.
our agricultural
Yeah, they're
boom
just
that was
similar.
happening on this side of the world.
Me too. I actually don't
And
have
that's
any
something
from
that's really important.
but it's okay. So, oh, thank you.
Yes.
Tomatoes taste the same. They look different.
No, they don't taste the same.
What is
No.
darker than the other one? The other one's free of bread and the other one is...
Y'all want some butter?
No.
Ready?
No.
Actually, maybe I should use
This
your
one is
knife.
from Whole Foods.
Walking
And then
around with
this
a
one
knife.
is from La Semilla.
Wait, this is from where?
Whole Foods. And then
Makes
like
me
the-
nervous to walk around with a knife.
Well, the heirloom ones, like these ones, are actually locally grown. They're from La Semilla. I don't think they're grown at the La Semilla farm, but they source them locally from.
And how does the heirloom taste?
Are y'all ready? Oh,
Taste it.
not yet. You're not ready for butter. Once it gets a little thick, then you put the butter in.
Taste to me is very subjective. One person can taste more salty and sweet. Somebody
Are
could
y'all
taste
ready for
more
butter?
bitterness or sourness in an
Oh,
ingredient.
you need water?
Water or?
So once the grits gets a little thick, we put butter, a little bit of butter in it.
Okay. Then we need the
Bigger
butter.
than that?
Yes.
No, that's good. That's a good amount. That's a good amount of thickness.
Okay.
How you guys doing over here?
I can send one to Nora, who can then send the rest. It could be a tiny bit thicker, but I think it's okay.
So why soy milk and not? Because I know we're not vegan.
Because personally, I can't really do
your taste.
milk,
Oh.
real milk, and so I'm just cooking things that I would normally eat. But I'm also thinking about people who might also be the same, like lactose intolerant. Yeah. I was thinking about cheese too, because usually you put cheese in it, but yeah. Butter is a little bit of the same, but the butters are in the tamales, so now I'm like, well, do you want butter? You don't need butter. Okay.
I don't. I've been throwing them in my basket down here.
There you
Let me
go.
see if I can find a little trash can to walk around.
So then you just wait for it to get a little thick, and then we can turn it. Leave it in medium.
And the vegetables.
Yeah. So we're gonna take a break from
So
mine.
once everybody's done
Mateo's gonna
prepping
show
their veggies,
his,
we'll
and
take
then
a little
while
break,
the tamales are
and then we'll get started
competing,
on
we're gonna finish
masa.
mine.
Some masa science.
I'm gonna tell it to the other side. Did you hear what I just said? So after we're done with the grits, we're gonna take a break.
I think so.
When the
I
veggies
taste
are done,
more flavors of
and
like
then Mateo's gonna show the tamales.
like anise-
and then
like
when the
anise.
tamales are cooking, we're gonna finish the veggies.
more than I do in this one. This one is more nuttier to me, at least in the masa. Like when you actually make the masa,
So
because
once
when
the
you
grits are
grind it
done,
between the two stones, like
we're
that heat
gonna
that you're
take a
doing,
break from
that
this
alters
recipe,
well,
'cause the veggies are
alters
done.
the
We're
flavor.
gonna go to
Like it imparts kind of
Mateo's,
like a
and then once the
nuttiness
tamales
to
are,
it,
like, just
because you're
cooking
kind
in
of
the pot, we're
toasting
gonna go
it
back
with
to the
that
veggies
heat,
and finish.
with the friction. So there's a lot of little nuances. But
Oh man,
Yeah,
yours is
there-
really.
I had just barely started theirs.
Oh, okay.
Turn it on and I turn it off.
it's like a creative science. I don't know, like you can be sciencey but creative with it
It'll
at the
get
same
there.
time.
Sorry? Oh, so the grits is that color because it's the blue corn that Mateo brought. Yeah. Yeah, I've never had it this color either, so I'm excited to see how it turns out.
How hard was it to grind those tiny kernels?
Not hard.
So I think y'all can, once your grits are
I'll
like
grind.
this amount of consistency,
I'm saving them for
quite.
Oren.
then you can turn it off. I wonder if it's because of your pot. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think people are starting to slow down. And most people have their veggies chopped already.
You good? Okay. I just need to cool this down a little bit if it got too hot.
Why does it smell like it's burning?
Just piloncillo. Does anybody want to cool it down? I got it too hot, so I'm just trying to cool it down by.
Are y'all happy with the thickness of your grits?
Oh, yeah.
You tell us.
Let's see. Let's see.
Thicker than that?
I'll do a little. I like mine really thick,
Oh, really?
but it's fine that way
It
too.
started bubbling
Ah, yeah.
everywhere, so we had to turn it off.
So what are we gonna do with that? Is this a secret or surprise?
Where are we gonna do
What
it?
are we gonna do with the grits?
So we're gonna eat them with the veggies.
Oh, so nobody has tasted to see if it tastes good.
You want to taste it right now? I have never actually tried blue grits.
Use my
Waiting for
knife.
permission.
I always.
Because if not, it needs a little bit of more salt. Yeah?
Yeah. It's okay for my taste.
Oh, is under sodium, so it's not gonna need salt after we serve it. Yes.
It's good for me.
Also, after we serve it, we're gonna make a tiny broth with the veggies that's gonna like integrate with the grits, so it'll add more flavor.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Is mine burning? Did I turn? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'll show people because I think mine's pretty done. Here's sémola de maíz. I don't know how you would say it.
No sé.
So this is like the
Una tole.
consistency that I like.
Una,
Esto no es mexicano,
I think you're good, no?
no, no.
Americano.
Sí, es African American.
Sorry, this is hot.
Something that podemos like not in the
No, pues por nosotros
So
es
this is
atole.
the
Pero
this
es
is the
dulce.
consistency
O
that I
hay
like.
tal vez de
I think
sal
you're,
o
yeah, I think you're
vegetales,
good.
pero
¿Eso es lo que le echan al champurrado?
sí, nomás con chocolate.
I'm wondering if y'all need a little more grits. Well, this is the consistency that I like. Okay, okay. Yeah. The thing with grits is that the longer you cook it, the thicker it gets. And so yeah, it'll get thicker once you're...
But it's very cool how two different cultures can kind of think about the
So
same
the
things.
next step,
And
after it thickens,
Good-
we're going to turn it
the-
off. We already have the veggies
the
prepped,
ingredients,
so
I mean,
we're
they
gonna do
speak
the
to
veggies
us. You know, they
last.
tell us what
But
wants
Mateo's gonna
to
start
be
with the
made from them.
tamales. So he's gonna start with the tamales, and once those are cooking, we're gonna go back to the veggies, and then we'll serve it.
o vainilla.
Low. Ahorita, these burners are making me confused because when I put mine on low, it was like exploding. Maybe take it off and then put it on low. Yeah. And if it gets really thick, like after a while, we'll just put a little bit more water in it. Yeah. So y'all can turn off your grits for now if you're at the consistency that you like. You're getting there. You still have lumps. No lumps. We also have a whisk in case you have lumps.
It'll thicken up too as it
Yeah,
sits,
it thickens up too as it sits. Actually, it's gonna get pretty thick when you turn it off and while we do the other stuff. So if it's too thick, we can add a little bit of water and heat it up a little.
All right.
I think we're good.
Okay. So is everybody ready to start talking about some masa? Yeah? Okay. So I know everybody has their own idea of how tamales should be made, their secret recipes, who has the better ones. And I absolutely love that about tamales, that they can be so good and you can follow so many different recipes and they're still good. So that's really cool for me. The most important thing that I found when working with tamales, at least for the traditional ones that people are familiar with that are fluffy and the common ones that we see. Like the old school ones are very dense, very chewy, they're not very fluffy like what we associate with tamales today. But today we're gonna be making modern tamales. And the key ingredient in it is incorporating that fat into the masa, into the corn. So thinking about fat, like the way I cook is what is available around me. And nowadays we're used to cooking with, canola oils, vegetable oils, seed oils, all these different oils. But in my mind, the reality of it, and especially I started thinking more like this during the pandemic and the quarantine, and we're still having food shortages, and I don't think people really realize, the prices of food that have almost doubled in the past year. But that aside, during the pandemic and everything, I started really focusing on recipes that I can make that are readily available. Many years ago I started thinking, what did the people here used to eat? If they were putting maíz in a corn husk, they weren't going to the store and putting manteca on it, They weren't putting animal fat in there really because that was used for other things. Animal fat to us is medicine. We use it on our hair. We use it to take care of our leather, to take care of our shoes. it's not really a cooking ingredient. It is, but it's more of a medicine, like an everyday utilitarian thing that you use. So it's not something that you would just use sparingly in a recipe. And out here in the desert, like we have a very harsh climate, we have very poor soil, and there's not a lot to eat out here. There are very beautiful ingredients out here and very, very beautiful relatives, but we had a very predominantly protein-based diet because that's what's out here. You know, we have deer, we have rabbit, we have quail, we have pigeons, we have all sorts of animals to eat. But naturally occurring foods, we have like nopales, mesquite, and a few wild plants that grow around here that can be supplemented. But really, maize, when it came to this region, changed life drastically because it made life possible here. And a lot of people forget that this was one of the first sites in North America where corn was domesticated. A lot of people don't realize that there's a 4,000-year history of this plant in our area. So where is it today? Where does this plant come in when we're talking about our daily diets and the staples of our life, you know? We're a little disconnected. So talking about fats, I'm gonna use butter for this one because it makes a little bit more sense, you know, to have a cow and you can have readily available fat in the form of butter. And you can use your other fats for whatever you want. And surprisingly, tamales with butter, this is gonna be a sweet tamal. So with butter, it's very rich, it's buttery, it's nutty, it imparts a very beautiful flavor to it. And it's a great alternative for manteca. And it's a great alternative because the key in making tamale masa is getting your fat whipped up so that you incorporate air into it and it fluffs up. That's the only key to any. You can add anything else you want to it, any kind of flavoring, seasonings, liquids, fruit, vegetables, meat, whatever. But the key is to get that fat nice and whipped. Does anybody not know what like whipping butter or manteca means? No? Okay. That's another thing that's a little tricky with me with recipes. I'm not very good with recipes because there's a lot of factors that go into it. Right now, this butter has been sitting out all morning, so it's perfect to be whipped right now. If I take it out of the fridge, I'm gonna need to whip it a lot longer because it needs time to warm up and it needs time to expand so that it holds its shape. So to me, when people ask me questions like that, I'm like, I don't know, you know, like, you want to work with it when it's room temperature. If you can stick your finger in it and it's like soft, then it's perfect. You don't want it to melt to like licuado because then it's not going to get the air into it. That's why you can't use like canola oil or sunflower oil or avocado oil. Like you can add it. Like you could do half butter, half avocado oil or sunflower seed oil. That's what I do. I won't give my ratios out because it's my secret. But you can mix and match, but you do need one fat that you can incorporate air into. And like the liquid oils, you just can't do it. Even when you make like a salad dressing, like it's the same principle, is you're trying to expand and incorporate air into that fat. And you need like the speed of a blender to really get it going. But even after a little while, it's gonna separate because it's not meant to hold that shape. So in here, I have 10 ounces of fat. If anybody's writing it down, this is part of my secret recipe. So 10 ounces of fat, and I'm just gonna whip that up. I have like maybe a teaspoon of sugar in there. And if you're doing a savory tamale, you wanna incorporate your salt with your fat at that point. Because what that does, like the salt and the sugar, they're crystals. So they have edges around them. And when they're flying in that mixer with that fat, they're helping to cut open and disperse so that air can incorporate into that fat. So if you're adding sugar and salt, add it at the beginning, just a little bit, and then you can adjust seasonings as you go along. But I add maybe like a teaspoon of salt, maybe a teaspoon of sugar at the initial start. So you just turn it on and you let it, I mean, that's it, you know? So this one will take maybe three to 5 minutes in the state that it's at. Softened butter, 3 to 5 minutes. The next step after that is the most important part, which is the masa. And if you can possibly, well, no, I'm not going to say if you possibly can. Avoid the instant maseca that you guys can get at Walmart, any grocery store that says maseca, avoid it. You don't need it that in your life. It's not even corn. It's a hybrid, GMO. It has zero place in this world, in my opinion. If you want good quality corn, we have farmers out here that are growing it. You guys can look me up, find ways to get in contact with it, but it's here. And there's no need for the maseca, because that just, the more people buy it and support that, the less people are interested in the true maize. The more accepted it is when, we teach our kids like, oh, just let's go to the store and get some maseca. That sticks in their head that, okay, instant corn is fine. So it's up to us to be, like, no, we need to change that way of thinking in our culture. Corn is not corn. Masa is not masa. There are major differences. This is, to my knowledge, 600 years that this seed has been passed down. And somehow it's ended up here in El Paso, and I get to work with it. And you guys get to eat it. And there's even masa on the tables too, if you guys want to crack open the bag and just, this one is weighed out, so this one is going into the masa. But open the bags up and feel it. Like it has an amazing feel. It's like Play-Doh, it feels cool. So, masa, 2 pounds. There's not a certain amount of liquid that I put in it, because some people will make their masa that is super dry. Some people will add the instant corn, and that's fine. But before you add the instant corn, make it into masa first, because it makes a difference when it's going through the mixer and you're getting air into it. So once you get masa, 2 pounds, and you got your butter going, just little by little, you just throw it in there. And every once in a while, you want to kind of push down the sides, because that butter, everything's going to rise up to the top, and just fold it over and make sure you're getting everything incorporated into it. So at this point, we just have butter or the fat and masa. And a tiny bit of sugar to get that cutting action as it goes. So has anybody had tamales with carrots before? With carrots?
I have once. Yes.
Has anybody ever heard of making tamales with carrots? All right, I feel honored to introduce you to this great combination.
Smells really good.
But that's what food is about, right? Like, we play with it, we experiment with it. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's like, ugh, I don't know what I was thinking. But it's fun. I love to be able to play around and work with different ingredients and kind of keep my ears open as to what they want to be made into. Like, we were talking about this at the table down here, about how similar grits is to atole. And it was pretty cool to make that connection that like two different cultures can create something that is very similar because we're listening to the ingredient. We're connecting to it and it's speaking to us, telling us how to work with it. So that's really, really cool that, I don't know, I had understood it intellectually, but it kind of dawned on me recently, or just right now, of how true that statement is. So once it's all good, the key is to make sure you don't have any pieces of fat that are in there. Sometimes you'll get pieces of butter or manteca, whatever. Just make sure you mix it enough, about 5 minutes is doing fine. And then you can start adding everything you want into it, which today we're gonna be adding these beautiful carrots. And I don't think I mentioned before, but you know, this corn and these carrots are coming from De Colores Farms out in Berino. And they are doing some beautiful things. I work with a lot of farmers out there. And La Semilla and De Colores have played a big part in helping me build my relationships even deeper with food by supplying me with such beautiful ingredients. You know, like there's some carrots that are dispersed throughout the tables over here. And you guys take a look at them because they're little. Some are big, some are skinny, there is so much variety. And maize is the same way, you know, the same seed can grow plants that are short, some that are tall, some ears that are mini, like it's so diverse. And that's the way that food should be, you know, like people. We're all diverse, we're not cookie cutters. So shredding carrots, there's not much to it. And you won't need many. Like these carrots are little and I'm probably gonna use 3 of them. Because raw carrots, like real carrots, are spicy. The ones you get at the store are super sweet. So once you start eating real food, your taste buds are gonna change because real food tastes different. It has character, it has nuances, it has hints of this, hints of that. It has the taste of the soil. It has the taste of the sky, everything that is around it. You know, out here in El Paso, we have beautiful sunsets. So I always think of, you know, this holds the power of that sunset. You know, those beautiful colors that you see in the clouds give life to this. So that is part of the plant, you know, it's part of the cycle of it. But I'll keep shredding away. Do you need to walk them through anything right now?
Right now?
Or are you good on
I
time?
think I'm good.
Okay. And you guys can eat them too. Like the carrots that are on the table, like please eat them. Like they're not just for display purposes, you know. Where's my card? All right, so the other key component in masa making is your liquid. So you have masa, the maize, fat, and then you're gonna have some kind of liquid that you're gonna put into it. Chicken stock, whatever. These are gonna be sweet. So I have a little bit of piloncillo that's been melted in some water to give. My take on this was like a carrot cake. You know, I love carrot cake. I love the molasses in it, the cinnamon, the nueces, like, so that was my inspiration for this. So I'm gonna use piloncillo instead of brown sugar. Does anybody not know what piloncillo is? Mm-hmm. No? So they're compressed like cones of caña. Molasses. It has a little bit of molasses in the caña. See. So it gives it a little bit of a smokiness, a little bit of bitter. Sí, es caña con molasses. I don't know what molasses is naturally. It's like a melasa. Sí. And when you're incorporating your liquid into it, just go a little bit at a time because you have your mixer on full blast and you put liquid in there, it's gonna shoot like everywhere. All right. So who out here knows what kind of nuts we have that grow beautifully out here? Exactly, pecans. So carrot cake, I always think walnuts. Everybody thinks walnuts, but you know, let's be real. Like we don't have walnuts growing out here. We have pecans. So why not use pecans, right? And that's a big part of the way I think when cooking is what's available to me. You know, I don't want to go to the store and have to make extra trips to make a recipe. I don't like giving people recipes where they have to go to a fancy grocery store and spend $20 on an ingredient that they're probably never going to use again. We're all on budgets, right? And food is just getting more and more expensive. So we need to work and find ways to bring food back into our kitchens and make it affordable, make it cheaper. And I found in the long run, it's actually cheaper to make your own food than to spend one meal eating out every single day. You know, it's worth investing, going to the grocery store and investing, you know, in that $300 bill. Like, it's worth it. That's your health. That's your medicine. You know, before you have to go to the doctors or anything like that, like, this is your first defense. So invest in it. You know, put your money in your food because it's totally worth it. Your children are gonna thank you when you're older for it because you're gonna be older, they're gonna be healthy and vibrant. Like, there's no wrong that can come from investing your money into your food. So I'll be using pecans, maybe about a cup. And like I said, recipes to me are very subjective. Some people like more nuts, so if you like more nuts, throw more nuts in there, you know. If you don't like as many nuts, then leave some out. Like, it's important that your confidence and your joy and your feelings, it's important that all of that gets put into your food rather than being so self-conscious of, oh, I need to follow this recipe, I need to do it like this, or it's not gonna come out right. Like, when you cook in a nervous state like that, you produce food that's kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, but when you put your heart into it, like, it's gonna taste good regardless. At least to you, because you know you made it.
Nothing tastes better than food you made, honestly.
Yeah, my mom says that the secret is love.
It is. It's very, it's a very cheesy thing to say, you know, because how can you quantify love, right? But you can. In the way you cook, by cooking with respect, cooking with acknowledgement of what you're working with, cooking with joy. It all makes a difference. So one more thing I'm going to lecture on. I feel like I'm giving you guys lectures here about what to eat and what not to eat. But agave. So I don't use a lot of white sugar. I try not to use a lot of white sugar in my food because, like I said, food is medicine to me. And white sugar is not medicine. It's pretty bad. And if you do your research and you look it up and you look at how much of it is put in every single thing that we eat, and you think about the diabetes epidemic that plagues, you know, both our cultures, both our communities, you know, it's time we start making that connection. You know, sugar is pretty harmful. And I started making that connection many years ago when researching and asking about, you know, what my ancestors ate. You know, we didn't have white sugar before, so what did we eat? And I started to find that these foods that grow out here, like mesquite, the agaves, all these foods are sweet. You know, our natural based diet out here was based on a sweet taste. So we have that genetically programmed into us that we crave something sweet. There's something in our DNA that says we want something sweet. Because the mesquite that we used to live off of out here is very sweet. It's like caramel. It's like candy. And they introduced white sugar to us and we ate it up because it's addictive. You know, it's just as addictive as nicotine, as all these other things. Like your body starts to crave it and it needs it. And without it, it doesn't operate correctly. But agave, out here, we have a lechuga agave and they're little ones, little tiny ones. But we would harvest those and we'd cook the base of it. I mean, the season has already passed already, but there's a point right before they start to bloom where the sugars concentrate in there and they just condense and it's like candy when you cook it. Literally, it drips out, it's like honey. And the cool thing about this, though, is that it's low glycemic. So our ancestors have been eating this for thousands of years, and it's something that stabilizes our blood sugar. So it's something that gives our bodies energy constant throughout the day, as opposed to white sugar that gives you this spike, and then boom, your insulin levels, everything goes down, and your body starts to go into chaos, like what's happening? I need more sugar. But this was something that we used to sustain our energy, to make the maize go further, to take those calories in these plants and push us further. Because it's a lot of work making your own food. You know, imagine feeding a family when you have to grind your corn every day and then make tortillas. And like, we complain about making food today in our modern society, but you know, put yourself back a couple hundred years and maybe you might have a little bit more perspective on the world we're living in today. Agave, I don't use a lot, maybe like a good 3-second squirt. All right. But I'm sorry, like it's gonna be good, trust me. I have some here. If anybody's hungry already and wants to take a sample, like I have plenty of them. I have like 200 tamales here for you guys to eat, take home, so. And remember that the corn has sugar too. The carrots have sugar too. All our ingredients have sugar in some form. So we don't really need too much extra to make it taste good. But I do put a lot of cinnamon because it is like a carrot cake. And cinnamon is very essential in making a carrot cake. It gives it that brown color, that beautiful color. So I'm gonna do another 2-second squirt. So, how do you know when it's ready? Some people, it gets fluffy.
It doesn't stick.
Well, for me, it's sound. So when I start to hear it like flopping around in the mixer, it's ready. To me, that says like, okay, it's flopping, it's good. So I don't know if you hear that. It almost sounds like a gurgle. Oh, and one last thing, just to ensure that you do get fluffy tamales, a little baking soda. It's not necessary, baking powder, I'm sorry. It's not necessary, but I do put just a tiny bit in there because the heat does activate it and it does help it get fluffy. And at that point, that's it. I mean, you're ready to put it in your husks and make tamales. So when you guys are ready, I do have masa here that you guys can put into your corn husks. They're scattered throughout the table. You guys are more than welcome to take them home. I have bags and stuff if you guys do want to take them home and steam them up over there. And I do have some that are already cooked and ready to go. So If anybody is really excited to make tamales, let me know, I can hook you up. If anybody really wants to work the matate, I do have corn that has been put through the nixtamalization process. So if you really want to put your muscles to work and connect, I have that. If you guys want to go a more modern way and do a hand crank and see what it's like to make some of these grits, I have some dehydrated corn here that I made. So if you guys want to be interactive and kind of connect, let me know and I'll set you guys up. I think we're gonna start cooking the veggies so the polenta doesn't get too stiff, and then we'll get back to all that. I think we're doing good on time.
So now we're gonna start cooking the veggies. So as I said before, this is like a loose interpretation of shrimp and grits, but I just call them veggies or mushrooms and grits. And it's also said that before the transatlantic slave trade, when corn was introduced to Africa, that East Africans specifically would make porridge, a type of porridge with shrimp in it. So there's some historians that swear that shrimp and grits is actually from Mozambique. And so that's when I say when we came over and we were in the Americas, we already knew how to work with corn. We had 200 years prior in Africa before we came as enslaved people working with corn. And now it's like a very, very, I guess, iconic dish in Southern cuisine. So here we have mushrooms, which are the shrimp, but I just like them. I love mushrooms. They're like my favorite thing to cook. We also have tomatoes, scallions, chives, and then as like an extra green, I decided to add zucchini or calabacita. I think most of you have calabacita, which is like a type of squash, and it was kind of just for me like homage also to another food that is indigenous to this land, is used by indigenous people of Mexico, used a lot by Native Americans, but also used by Black Americans and Afro-diaspora people in this land a lot. Like I think a lot about the dish succotash, and it's very similar to calabacitas a la mexicana. So that's kind of why I chose to also add the calabacitas, just as like a homage to that connection as well. So let's warm up our pans. Oh, so we can take that, I guess, off and put it to the side for now. I'm gonna go around and put like a little bit of butter in each pan once it's hot.
Well, I don't know. Someone's getting one right.
I usually start, so how I cook it is I start with the mushrooms. I cook them in garlic powder for like 5 minutes because I really like the flavor that it goes. And I only do mushrooms. Then I add the chives for like a minute. Then I add the tomatoes. And at the end I add the calabacita. Ready? I don't know. Yeah, that's true. I usually don't use too much. I usually use oil, so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that all?
You want more?
Yeah.
I don't cook with that much oil, so. But if you want more oil, go ahead.
Real butter or just margarine?
Real butter.
Real butter, very good.
I'll open up for you guys.
Is it on?
It is on.
Yes.
The lowest. I can make it higher.
So, okay. Here, I'll tell everybody after. Oh, you're still on that? Yeah. Dang. Oh, It's getting good though. I would turn it off and let it get stiff on its own,
Okay.
and then I'll give you the butter.
Okay. So that goes in there? And
Yeah.
just stir it? Or?
So I'll put this to the side. Grab the pan.
Okay. So I'm going to burn the table?
Oh yeah, because this is hot, huh?
I guess.
Because this one, everybody else's has been sitting for a while. Yeah, there it goes. There you go.
So we're going to fry this?
Yeah.
Spread la masa.
Oh.
There you go.
I was just trying to clean up real fast.
Okay. If anyone wants garlic powder, need help. There you go.
No?
And I usually cook this on medium high heat.
You soak them, ¿verdad? So they're pliable.
Yeah, I soaked those overnight.
Y es 1 o 2 cucharadas.
Como que.
And how long do you leave them? How thick?
Así. They're all different. For estos,
Una cucharada.
porque no tiene. They don't have a filling in them.
Thank you.
So I usually do a little lump like that.
Okay. So it's a little bundle.
Yeah.
Oh, salt also.
When I have a filling,
we
like
had more salt.
carne, I spread it so then I can wrap them.
Pero esto es como un little bundle.
Sí.
Okay.
I'm interested in the, but I need to cook them here. I cannot take it home like that. It'll get bad.
Yeah, it's not salt.
You have about 3
So,
hours to get them in the
there's also
refrigerator.
salt here.
No.
That would have been amazing.
Well, there's extras there.
Oh yeah, with the heat, right? You just put it in a little.
Así. With practice.
Además los vas haciendo, los pones paraditos.
I do.
Le voy a
Yes.
hacer su little bundle.
So I season the veggies with the Old Bay.
Entonces nada más don't spread it.
So once you have the veggies in it, I season it with this and salt.
It's just the white corn.
Lo pone en water, lo pones en agua. Lo hace soak overnight.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, no.
that's the way. Oh my God.
Yeah. So these
Y estos que están aquí atrás, did you make those?
yes.
Oh,
Let me go get it.
Sure. Alright, so I'm gonna demonstrate one and then you can do it. So there's a shiny side and then a side like that. So you want the shiny side. Some of them are hard to tell. Here, let's get you one of these. Here, you take that one.
You want the shiny side up?
It doesn't matter.
Yes.
Yeah, this shiny side up.
Anyone need?
That's the way it naturally
garlic powder?
grows.
Okay.
So it forms around the plant.
Need
like
salt?
Okay.
that. If you have a, hold on, let me drink some water.
So my mom's Chinese.
Where is the salt?
The sticky rice, the rice leaves.
Yeah, yeah.
Someone over there.
It's like almost the same thing.
Yeah, so when she first had tamales, she was like, oh.
I bet I've actually made these with like lotus seed, like a lotus seed paste
Thank
in the
you.
middle.
Okay.
So they're sweet and no, como quiere, however you want. So when there's no filling in there,
Salt.
I just put a lump and then roll it over.
Do I need to cover
I
that?
don't think this. I think they
That helps it
probably
stick,
need garlic powder.
That's good.
I like to put a lot. So. Okay.
Just like oh no. Well, see, these are sweet, and there's no filling, so you don't need to. You won't have to spread it. But if you were gonna spread it, so are you left or right-handed?
Right-handed.
Right-handed. So go in the right corner, and you just kind of
Work from
like
there.
yeah. If you have a filling, these you don't need to do that. But the times you do have a filling, top right corner, so that way when you fold it, it goes over and then
Okay. No, these Need some they Old don't Bay? really have a filling.
yeah.
Okay, because it doesn't have a filling. Does it matter? Do I close it out?
Yeah, you can just roll it over.
Oh yeah. The back is. Ooh. The batter's really bad. You want some Old Bay? Yeah, it's really. Sure.
Chef, does it matter what side you put it on?
That good?
Yes. Well, there's a shiny side,
I season.
and then there's a side that
overseason.
has like the line.
And so you put it on the shiny.
Yeah, because that's the way that the shiny side is the way
Sorry?
the corn grows. So it would be like that.
If you want more butter though, I always cook with. I don't cook with that much oil in general, so.
Not really. It just folds easier that way.
But if you want more butter, I can get more butter.
That my mom has, that whoever starts eating the tamales can be the only person eating the tamales.
Really? No, never.
Yes, but my mom has the, yeah, everybody can spread, but my mom also has the only one that puts them here is the only one that can put them there. Maybe your mom.
Is that the way? You might want to help out here because
Show us the way.
Is anybody sitting here?
no, sir.
You need more room.
Are you doing no mushrooms? Ah. I'm glad I chose another veggie too.
Thank you. So, you see how it slanted like this? That's the way you want to be. You're pushing down and up. So you get your stuff up here. You don't need a lot of
You see how
water.
there's like a little bit of water.
Initially, you want to
So we're
soak
gonna
your
use that
stone
tiny
for
bit
a
of
little
water
bit.
in the grits.
I soaked it last
We're gonna
night, so
put
it's
it
good to
on
go.
the
Even though it looks dry, there's
Sorry?
still
You want us to throw that
water
water
inside
in
of it.
here.
Yeah, we're gonna throw it in there.
Like let's say you haven't used it in a while.
So hold on, let me just make
At
sure
least
mine
overnight.
isn't gonna-
At least 8 hours. So when you have it facing down, your body creates a motion that's easier. And when you're standing up, it's actually easier to do it than when you're kneeling down, because you can use your body weight into it. And it's a big wrist motion. Like you don't need, once you get going and you get like a good masa pile, then you can start grinding away, but initially you're just kind of to squish.
So we'll have tortillas ready in like 2 weeks straight.
I mean, once you get the hang of it, it's it's easier.
You know what's a good armor workout?
I don't doubt you guys.
Is it arm or is it chest?
So you see the water that's like coming out?
It's a little of
So
everything.
we're gonna put that water in the grits.
No, it is on days
Like, we're gonna
where I
drink
do
that.
like 10 pounds of masa. the next day I'll wake
I'll
up
tell
and
her
like
when to do it.
Sore.
my thighs will hurt
Yeah, you're gonna drain the
and
water
parts
in
of my
the
body
grits
will
to
hurt and
season the
like
grits.
yeah, what you know, but you're working muscles that you normally wouldn't work. So when we think about health and like working out and all of this, like
It was already integrated into it.
it always blows my mind how we've created these things like these centers to go to work out, but in our daily lives back in the day, our daily life was the exercise. This
You
is
feel
great.
there's,
Like
a
if
little
you
bit
do
of
this
water
once a
coming
day,
out.
like
So we're gonna
imagine
use
how
that
your
water as,
chest,
like,
your
a
arms are
little
gonna
broth
feel
to put
like.
in the grits to season the grits.
Jeez.
Oh, that looks great. Oh my gosh. So shoot. Uh-oh.
I don't know.
So you see how
I
there's,
did
like,
one
a
with
tiny bit of water? You could
hormigas with
actually put a
ants.
tiny bit of water.
I
and
did
make,
like a
a
mole
little
made with
broth,
ants.
and then we put the broth in the grits.
And then actually
But, like,
stuffed the
just a
ants
tiny
inside, so there's a little crunch to it. That was,
That's good.
but they were good though. You know,
Then you're gonna
I got
drain the broth
so
into
much
the grits.
positive feedback from
Season
that.
the grits, yeah.
And I
then
fed
at
it
the
to a
end
lot
we
of
eat it
people
all
that
together.
didn't know what it was, and when they ate it, they were like, "Wow, this is really good."
I
This
ate
is,
mixed.
I never tasted mole like this. And I was like, I'm
But I
pretty
usually
sure you
put
had
the
it. You
grits
know?
on the bottom, and then I put the veggies on top, and then I just eat it. Spicy.
Some do.
Blue corn grits, yeah. That's why they're blue.
Yeah, depending on species, what
Yeah.
they eat, where they're coming from. Like there's, I don't know. The diversity in nature is so beautiful to me that you can't really. I don't know. You just gotta experience it. You know?
Are you gonna add more
What was
protein
her
like that to other dishes?
Protein.
Samia
Pretty much what
Khan.
they are.
I
Grasshoppers,
do know of a
crickets.
professor. I'm pretty sure she's El Paso. Actually.
I do.
Let me double check.
I have and I do because that's what we
gonna
used to
look
eat
her
out
up.
here.
Okay.
You know, if hunting season is bad and there's drought and the animals aren't around,
No.
you gotta eat.
She's over
Yeah,
there.
you're gonna eat what you find, pretty much.
Oh, really?
And you think about it, back in the day, like we didn't eat
I live
3
in
meals a
Tijuana.
day.
I live very close by.
We would go 3 or 4 days without even eating
Oh,
because
nice.
there was no food.
I'll have to meet her. I'll
So
be right back. I'm just gonna
it's
check on
very
mine.
interesting to think about.
Nowadays, intermittent fasting is intermittent fasting.
It is because that's the way we used to eat. You know, we didn't always have a refrigerator to go to and be like, I'm hungry. What should I snack on? You know, there were times where you wouldn't have anything but to eat, but crickets and snakes and lizards for months on end, and people died.
You think you're?
Cultures were lost.
Yeah, I think they look pretty good. I think they're done.
Does anybody else want to?
They're done.
Now that you see what to do,
Pour the water in there just little by little.
Just little by little, and then mix it, and then stir it in. Yeah,
this is mantequilla, and
a tiny bit. Yeah, not too much.
the maize is already like
Just
part
mix
cooked
it.
already. It's cooked halfway, so.
That's good.
That's good. Cookie dough.
Yeah, it gives it flavor.
Do I need to gather it every once in a while?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're done. So then you drain the broth
without-
in the grits,
There's something like this you need to feel it.
Yo lo decía para por si alguien iba a probarlo.
and then you stir it in,
Yeah, there you go.
and then you stir the broth in. You might actually, if it's really thick, you might need to add a little more water too. So once you,
What do you think?
I think it's good. Yeah, it's getting there.
Sounds done.
Al dente. Yeah, I think it's good. So you can drain the water in the
It's a-
grits
it's a
and then
lot.
like mix
And
it
then
around.
this is what we're using for the grid, or you did this?
Yeah,
for the
exactly.
masa?
And then just mix it.
Since it
And
was
then
so
once
big,
it's
I
mixed,
used
we're ready to serve.
es
and I
una
can show
máquina.
people how to
It's,
serve.
oh, yeah.
Pero
Yeah.
tiene eso. And it's the same thing, but it's just a machine that grinds them.
Oh, interesting.
In my normal business, I do my stuff by hand.
Where's your
because-
business? Cali?
No, I'm here. I'm from El Paso.
Here?
I'm
Where?
here. I'm
And let me, where? Where are you?
I'm everywhere. I do what they call a pop-up shop.
Can I
Okay.
borrow some?
So
But
I'm
where? Because I love farmers markets downtown. Which one? Opera Valley?
follow La Samia because I do most of my work comes from them.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Lesemia?
yeah, La Samia. So
Insta?
yeah,
I'm gonna
they're in
follow right
Anthony,
now.
but
Lesemia.
it's a farming.
Community.
Yeah, like we do so many things.
mesa mía.
And what I do is I work with the cultural side of it. So I'm like a storyteller, recipe holder.
I loved how you personalized the corn. Como people take it for granted. Oh, es una tortilla. Dame 2 tortillas de harina, 3 de maíz. But I love the part where you brought it to life. So
It's alive. You know, it is alive.
what's the name again?
Mateo.
Mateo. I'm gonna insert you.
So then, once you're done, I usually put the grits on the bottom and I put the veggies on top. But if it's, you could also put it side to side and then you just eat it mixed.
You got it?
I don't know if you can smell it through the mask, but you can really get the corn.
Hope it's good.
Thank you. Surprising, right?
Yes, it's almost like a modified carrot cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good.
I do after school programs, and I did a chocolate tamale with the kids one time. Well, they had a field day with it because they're like, this is a brownie. This is an ancient brownie. And it was really cool because I do my classes outside. So we're cooking the tamales over the fire and everything, and they're like, this is like an ancient brownie. And I was like, it is.
It is an ancient brownie. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's cool. Excuse me.
Ooh, those veggies look good.
You'll know by touch. So it's still, yeah, there's a long way to go.
No, I was just curious. And then you just do this, and then.
Yeah, like let me get some of this.
Get the.
So it should feel like that.
Oh, that's a long way to go.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of work, trust me.
So how long would it take you to like do all that corn? I mean, is that a lot?
This bag?
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Is that okay?
I mean, that'll take about 30 minutes,
Okay. Yeah.
but that will give me probably 40 to 50 tortillas.
Okay. So that's a good size.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, you get a lot from it. You put a lot of work into it, but you start to make the connection of like, wow, why this is stuck with us for so long.
Yes.
You know,
Oh
because
man,
it's
the
so
blue corn is
versatile
so
and it's
good.
so
Oh my gosh.
it's so abundant. When you start to grind it up, you really see like, wow, it just multiplies and multiplies. And the different applications that you can do with it. You know, from people just think tortilla or
Anyone
tamale,
have the
but
salt?
there's so much more that you can do.
Anyone here have the salt? Oh, can I borrow that?
Sorry, I took it off.
So, did you put it in the? So, I usually you can. Well, since they're plates, you can serve them side by side. But I usually put the grits on the bottom
Give it-
and the veggies on top.
It
And then you
is.
just eat it
I mean,
mixed.
like I was mentioning at the table over there, like
So
I always find
you
gyms
already
and
put the
stuff a
broth
little
in
funny
the grits.
that we've created these
So I
things
think
in our
you're good. I think
society
you're
to
ready.
like, I'm gonna go to this destination,
So since we
to
have
get fit.
plates,
and then
it's
I
probably
look at
best to
some
serve
of my
them
family
side by
that
side. But I usually put.
they're not.
Usually
they're,
when
they're
I'm at home, I eat
traditional,
it in a
but
bowl.
they're
And I have
modernized and
the grits
everything,
on the
but
bottom
stuff
and the
like
veggies
food,
on
like
top.
Okay, so we
you know, skinning the animals and everything. Like it's a lot of work, and it's fine.
Working to live instead of living somewhere.
Yeah,
We're gonna put a Fitbit on you to prove it.
do it.
No, you knew it. I was telling Douglas like my mom learned how to make tamales from my grandma, and she would use Crisco because my grandfather's Jewish, and so you can't use the manteca, right? That was what she knew, but I didn't tell her about the butter because instead of using the Crisco, which is all like
Yeah.
hydrogenated oils,
And you don't
she can use butter.
you don't need a lot.
Yeah.
Like 10 ounces is a lot. That's the ratio that I found where the public is like, they'll eat it up. You know, anything less, and they're like, there's something different about this. You know.
Yeah.
So, but you can always cut it back. You just need a tiny bit in there
I think I'm
to
the one who's
to fluff it up.
scraggly.
So maybe
But
even like
what is- what
2
time is
ounces of butter as opposed to 10.
3:30?
You just need a little bit. But
Was that mine? Yes. I kind of
yeah, but when you're working the matate and everything like that, like the butter you eat is turns into high calories like that you need, as opposed to the sedentary lifestyle we live now.
All your
we can do like closing comments and then that'll probably be good.
I'll do that at the end.
When you're making masa,
At the very end. Thanks for joining me.
you don't, that's the only way you do it.
Yeah, just let me
Yeah.
You're doing this all the time.
No.
Yeah, a lot of people say it's a setback, you
No, it
know.
looks like it takes a really long time.
It does.
Very, very little.
But that's why I work small scale,
Right.
and that's why what I do I feel is
That could
very.
never happen in a restaurant. It would take too long.
I'm gonna share.
It could, but I don't think
Oh my
it's
gosh,
the right
you
time
like
yet.
huaraches?
I don't think the community here is ready to
Tortillas?
appreciate
Yeah.
that much
looks
work
so
that goes
good.
into it. I think they'll
How
see it
is
and be
it?
like, wow, that's really cool, and then like turn to the
Good.
next big
It
thing.
turned out good. The blue,
And something
the
like
blue
that should
corn,
not
oh my
be.
gosh,
I don't think the
can't.
public is ready
So
to
good.
accept that for what it is. You know, so I share it in environments like this where I know the people who are coming to hear and speak with me
I don't wanna miss them.
are gonna get something out of it, and I'm not just wasting my energy and myself.
If you like make a restaurant like this, and you're
Well,
like,
I-
well, you know, it has
Do y'all
this,
want
and
some
it takes
shrimp and
time,
grits?
so like,
I
come here for like a quick bite.
yeah.
Because my dish is just
I
sitting
I
there.
want to be
Nobody's
able to
touched it.
talk to people. So like pop-up dinners for me are great because I get to do what I do here and explain about the food and talk about it and get to connect and express, you know, I'm a human being too. You know, I'm not just the chef that is in the kitchen working, you know, like
Yeah, it's good.
this food has stories and they have emotions. And
Creo que grits es sémola de maíz y vegetales.
yeah. No,
Sí. De hecho, yo vivo en Tijuana y no pude encontrar grits en Tijuana
Yeah,
to like prepare. So I had to go to San
Yeah, I
Diego
get a
to
lot
find
of
the grits and then I came back.
I-
But I could only find the instant grits, so it's kind of cool that we have.
no.
The blue
They are
corn.
similar. Like I tried to do
Yeah,
work
of course.
exclusively with local farmers, and it makes it really
Exactly.
difficult
I know.
and hard.
Oh, thank
It
you.
was like because I work
Yeah.
with museums and then trying to find
Is there any way that we could help you with
people
what
display,
we use,
and I
how we
had
throw
reached
it
out to
away,
Yvonne
are
and
we
the
recycling?
This is what I'm also wondering about. I wanted to ask the people at the museum how we're gonna clean. Since everything
Oh,
is
yeah,
like
yeah.
bamboo, I think, and wood.
Oh
I
yeah,
think
yeah. No, I mean,
It's recyclable, right?
I think so.
since they've been
But it might
growing
be
corn, like I've
biodegradable.
been helping
Let's
her.
just
Like I'm
leave
her
it there
test.
and then we'll see.
She gives me what they have, and then just tell me what you think. You know, like what can we do? And like yeah.
Because I remember, like, I opened the farmer's market for the
Okay.
city
Okay.
But then like people can keep eating from
11.
That makes sense.
A long time ago, and I remember the corn was blooming, so when they first started, so it's great to see like how she's grown and
Yeah.
amazing.
It's pretty amazing
Oh
too.
yes.
She's like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
to
since
have a farmer show up with
everybody-
100 pounds of
the
locally
salt
grown
was kinda
corn at your doorstep,
dispersed.
and
Some
like
people had less.
I
In
couldn't ask
passing
for
around
more.
the salt, I forgot to salt mine.
Oh no, asking Ebony if she was going to say final remarks. I'm going to have you guys say anything else you want to say. And then I'm just going to do like a thanks for watching, bye. But then you're welcome to keep hanging out. I just want to make that like cut off so it's not just...
Okay. Random. Okay.
It's good. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad.
How are the grits?
So my
I missed the
Can I taste?
okay. Oh, nice. So the essential ingredient that we have in common in Black and Chicanx communities and Black Chicanx communities, because I'm Black Chicana, is corn. And so on my take, when thinking about like what could I do for the Afro diaspora side, I thought of grits.
Yes.
And since I'm vegetarian, this is like a very
I like
loose
them.
interpretation.
I hope
of
people
shrimp and
take them home.
grits.
I made too many.
The mushroom is supposed to be the shrimp, but it's not really. I just call it mushrooms and grits.
The texture is like shrimp.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I live in Tijuana, and I actually couldn't find grits in Tijuana, so I had to go to San Diego to find like the instant. And then I was starting to like make different recipes. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
And so like the mushrooms, the tomatoes and the chives are like pretty common in shrimp and grits. And then with my take, I replaced the mushrooms with the
And
shrimp
guys,
with
if anybody
mushrooms.
wants
And
tamales
I
to
added
take
the
home,
zucchini
please
just
take
to
them
give, like,
home. There's a bunch
homage
there.
to
So.
kind of the role of calabacita and zucchini on these lands. Yeah, which kind of was helpful because somebody here is allergic to mushrooms, so at least they had like some sort of veggie. Yeah. Yeah.
But if you don't have any final thoughts, I can also just wrap up. It's up to you.
Okay. No, I can.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
always have final.
And then a lot of people eat, so like a lot of people eat grits for breakfast, and they eat sweet grits. Like I usually, when I would grow up, I liked them sweet. And so you put I put
At least
brown
you say
sugar over
thank
it.
you.
You can even put,
Butter?
you can put a little bit of butter. I don't really put butter when it's sweet, but you can.
Okay.
I don't like butter.
This was a new
I usually
format.
don't put butter in
Didn't
it
go okay.
in general, but yeah, butter is like a staple for shrimp and grits, or grits in general. And then to put cinnamon, raisins, kind of like make it like oatmeal.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
do
like
this one.
making these. I like them with cheese actually.
I was trying to decide what to make.
I was trying to be mindful
And
of people who are
the farmer
lactose
was like, I got a
intolerant.
bunch of carrots. I don't
Yeah,
know.
or vegan. So
Like, sorry, I was
but
asking
then we
for
ended up
frijoles.
using butter, so I guess.
And she was like, I'm all
but-
out, but I got carrots.
So I
was
didn't
like,
add cheese. Or
Bring
anything.
'em,
I
I'll
was
work with 'em.
thinking about nutritional use to give it like the cheesy flavor, but we couldn't find any. So that's fine. But usually I usually put vegan cheese because I try to eat not as much dairy as I can. Yeah, exactly. So
There's like Utopian and like Portland that makes it out of like almonds or like nuts and stuff.
I like the vegan cheeses that are made out of nuts and almonds. They taste.
There's a local place called Green Ingredient that makes these little mini pucks of like cheese.
Ooh.
But I don't know if it would work like as a
Actually, I was one of them. I've made queso de papa, like potato cheese before in my house, and then I've made garbanzo cheese, which might actually help with making it like thicker with the grits.
How long do they have to
Garbanzo cheese is really good.
I do an hour and 30 minutes.
Oh yes. Okay. Sorry. Yes.
Well, the trick that I found, I'll do an hour and a half, and then I'll turn the heat off. I won't open them. And then I also throw hojas de maíz on top to kind of keep the steam in there. And once I turn the heat off, I let it sit for an hour.
You know,
and I don't open it for an hour,
I've never
so they kind of cook
either.
further.
That is a really good
But it gives them
idea.
time to cool
I
down
honestly
and
don't
then
see
get
blue
solid.
corn anything like in the U.S. unless it's like in a Mexican American
You don't see?
context. But like I don't really see like blue corn succotash. Like I don't see blue corn in those types of things. But blue corn cheesecake. You know where
With the
my mind
butter?
is
No.
going.
I mean, maybe bread.
That's actually a really good idea.
We're doing another batch.
Yeah. That's for next time.
There's like 4 or 5.
Should we? You want to get everybody's attention?
All right, everyone. We're just going to wrap up quickly for those watching at home, but you're welcome to continue eating, continue chatting. But I just want to invite Ebony and Mateo to say any last closing words they wanted while we still have people online.
Yeah, so thanks everybody for coming. I don't know if I properly introduced what I actually do, but so I'm a documentary filmmaker, and a lot of my films actually have to do with foodways and Mexican American foodways, Afro diaspora foodways. And I mentioned earlier that one of the other ingredients that's really close to my heart in terms of my own identity is flor de Jamaica. So I don't know if many people know that flor de Jamaica is actually indigenous to the African continent, and then was also brought through the trade and everything. And then became agua de Jamaica. So if anyone ever goes out to get agua de Jamaica, just think about that. I always think about it now, and especially the story I had with somebody who was from Ghana who came to Mexico, because I live in Mexico, and was like, I want to try something really Mexican. And so we were like, oh, let's give him agua de Jamaica. And he had it, and he's like, oh, this is exactly like sobolo, what I drink at home. So just thinking about, for me, thinking about these ingredients, as Mateo said, as like relatives, as things that connect us to our ancestors, the resistance of our ancestors. For me, that's like really important, and kind of the work that I do, which is more audiovisual, but it's also helped me, I think food and cooking has helped me even become deeper in the audiovisual like research that I do about food. So it's been a pleasure helping everyone, working with everybody here, sharing these recipes with y'all, and sharing like my love of food with everybody. And yeah, if you want to keep in touch, just hit me up. Also, I guess, are we doing social media?
Yeah.
So my social medias are Ebony Marie B, and then I also have like just like a small like recipe Instagram, mostly vegan and vegetarian recipes, called A la Blaxicana. So that's like a mixture too of Black and Mexican, Afro diaspora, all of that stuff. And I'm glad that we got to see like how corn represents all these different cultures. Like when they were saying that corn reminds them of atole, and as you were like, I was smelling atole because there was just so much corn in the air. Like things like that. It's just really beautiful to see. So thank you, everybody.
So thank you everybody for coming and showing up and being here. I don't normally talk that much, so my voice is fading. But the one thing I feel that both of our cultures have in common is that in some ways I feel like they've been suppressed. You know, I feel like a lot has tried to be taken away from us. And for a lot of people out there, food is all they have left to connect them to their original cultures. You know, there's no stories, there are no songs for a lot of people. There are no traditions for a lot of people, but we have food. And once we build our relationships back with those foods, we start to learn those songs, we start to learn those stories. They talk to us. So if you take away anything from today, it's just consider how important it is to have these relationships with our food. And support your local farmers because they're working their butts off out here and they're doing some beautiful things. And they need their support, you know, they need our support. There's no demand, there's no supply. So if we want more of this, go buy it.
So yes, thank you so much. Thank you, both of you, so much for leading this. It's been a really fun experience. And yes, please continue to eat. Please continue to share stories. Feel free to chat with them. They'll hang out for a little while longer. And thank you for watching at home. Thank you.
So I have a question actually. Yes. When you were saying, because my family uses the maseca a lot, so how do we make it? I actually don't know. How do we make it into masa? The corn.